Shankaram Shabhuma Shankararya Pitha Sadgurun Shuddha Sattva Bhasuran Suvartmanita Bhusuran Sarva Bhuta Saukhyadan Khamakaran Yatishwaran.
Okay. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. We will start now. Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryante Guru Paramparam Shri Guru Charanadvandvam Vandeham Mathita Dussahadvandvam Bhrantigrahopashantim Pam Sumayam Yasya Bhasitam Atanute. So here we are in the process of determining whether Advaita is the truth or Dvaita is the truth. So there are some shlokas devoted to this particular topic. So here in this 53rd shloka, 52nd shloka, it was determined that Dvaita cannot be the truth. It can be only the aropita, that is the superimposed, and Advaita alone can be the substratum, because Dvaita, which is non-existent, cannot be the substratum for Advaita, which is the existent. So that is wrong logic. So on those grounds, Dvaita cannot be said to be the substratum on which Advaita can be superimposed. So that proposal has been declined. So in the next shloka, a different question is being raised. Nano satya satyayoho ubhayoho api aropanam vilakshana vastuni syad ityakankshraya maha. So now the question is, okay, let us not hold Dvaita or Advaita as the substratum on which something is superimposed. Let us hold a third entity other than this Dvaita and Advaita, which can be said to be the substratum. So that question is being raised now. Yadi aropanam ubhayoho tad vyatiriktasya kasyachit abhavaha aropanam na shunye tasmat advaita satyata grahya. So the reply is being given here in the shloka that if the superimposition of both Dvaita and Advaita, then the vyatiriktasya kasyachit abhavaha, apart from Dvaita and Advaita, there is no third thing called some X on which Dvaita or Advaita can be superimposed. So there are only two things. It's only binary, either Dvaita or Advaita. There is no third thing called by any name. So if you give it a name Shunya, then also on Shunya it's not possible for anybody to superimpose anything on Shunya. So tasmat Advaita Satyata Grahya. So I am reminded of one event in Bangalore some years back. It was a seminar conducted by the Mahabodhi Society, the Buddhist organization, in connection in cooperation with the Karnataka Sanskrit University. So I had been to that event. Then there, a very noted senior scholar of Madhva system, he spoke there at the end. There he said, even though both Advaita and Bauddhas, they hold the world to be mithya, still Advaitins hold that Nirguna Brahman is the substratum for the superimposition of the world, whereas the Bauddhas don't say anything as a substratum for the mithya jagat. So this is a very crucial point, which is a point of distinction between Advaita and Shunyavada or Bauddha. Both hold prapancha to be mithya, but still for a mithya prapancha, there has to be a substratum. And Advaitins say that Nirguna Brahman is a substratum, whereas they don't say anything. If they say Shunya, then it is problematic for them. So this point is very important here. So in the commentary, the Acharya says, Yadi chete aropanam adhyasaha ubhayoho satyasatyayoho tada tad vyatiriktasya ubhaya vilakshana padarthasya kasyachit kasyapi abhavaha. So if we have to hold that both Advaita and Dvaita have to be only superimposed, that is both. This question is arising in a case where the questioner wants to dismiss both Advaita and Advaita as unreal. So he wants a third entity. So the answer is that there is no third entity at all on which these two can be superimposed. अन्य पदार्थो नास्ति इत्यर्थः ननु उभयविलक्षणं शून्यमस्ति कुत्र तत्र को अध्यासः कुतो अध्यासः न भवति. So the counter question is no, there is something called shunyam which is distinct from both Advaita and Dvaita. So why can't we hold that shunyam is the substratum on which both these can be superimposed? So that is the question. For that the answer is aropanam shunye vastuni aropanam kasyachit na bhavati yat tasmat advaita satyata advaita vastunaha satyata grahya angikartavya ityartha. So the answer is logically the shunya cannot be a substratum for anything. So because that entity itself is not there, substratum has to be some existent entity. So shunya can't be an existing entity on which any superimposition can happen. So ultimately, by default, only Advaita alone has to be taken to be the true or real entity. So because Dvaita has been much before rejected as unreal. So because the Shruti is teaching only Advaita and not Dvaita. So that was one pramana given. And logically also, Dvaita gets sublated by Advaita. So Dvaita cannot have a status of any real entity at all. So that is the shloka. Then another question arises. Evam bhute Advaita vastuni shrutireva pramanam. So then the conclusion is that if in the matter of Advaita, Shruti alone is the pramana, because Advaita is not available for any sense perception or any other pramana like Anumana or Upamana or any other pramana. So only Shruti alone is the pramana for Advaita. So the sloka is Pratyakshadi Anavagatam Shrutya Pratipadaniyam Advaitam Dvaitam na Pratipadyam Tasya Swayameva Lokasiddhatvat. So since Advaita is not available for Pratyaksha and all the other pramanas which are based on Pratyaksha only, Shruti alone is the pramana for Advaita, and we have to resort to the Shruti alone for knowing about Advaita. And Dvaitam na Pratipadyam, and Dvaita is not to be established or taught by the Shruti because Dvaita is already known. It doesn't need any pramana at all. So Lokasiddhatvat, Swayameva Lokasiddhatvat, by itself it is available for experience by the people who are uninformed, who are not exposed to the Vedanta. Everybody holds Dvaita alone to be real. So Dvaita is available already through Pratyaksha. Also, of course, that Pratyaksha experience of Dvaita is Brahma, Bhranti. So Advaita has to be taught only by the Shruti. So commentary, Pratyakshadi Anavagatam Pratyakshadi Pramanaihi Anavabodhyam Evam Rupam Advaitam Brahma Advaitam Brahma Shrutyaiva Pratipadaniyam Tarhi Dvaitamapi Shrutyaiva Pratipadaniyam Iti Akankshayamaha Dvaitamiti. So if you say that Shruti alone has to teach us about Advaita, then why not we hold that Dvaita is also taught by the Shruti? So for that the reason reply is in the second line of the shloka, Dvaitam na pratipadyam tasya swayameva lokasiddhatvat. So the commentary for that is Dvaitam na pratipadyam Shrutya kimapi tasya kimiti tasya Dvaitasya swayameva swabhavataha eva lokasiddhatvat. So by itself Dvaita is presenting itself to our senses, and we don't need the teaching from the Shruti to tell us anything or inform us anything about something what is already available to us through Pratyaksha. So Lokasiddhatvat. Lokaihi, so what is that Loka? Loka means normally people. So who are those people? Lokaihi eva avidyavritaihi pratipaditvatvat idyartha. So those who are enveloped by avidya, those who do not have the benefit of being exposed to the Veda, for such people, by such people, Dvaita is already being established. In the sense, those people recognize or authenticate that this Dvaita is real. So in their domain of ignorance, so it cannot be taken to be pramana definitely. So now the question is, nanu Shruti Advaitameva Pratipadayati Nadvaitam Kim iti Akankshaya Maha. So why do you say that Shruti is teaching only Advaita and not Dvaita? For that the reply is, Advaitam Sukarupam Dussaha Dukkham Sada Bhavet Dvaitam Yatra Prayojanam Syat Pratipadayati Shruti Tadeva Asau. So here the reply is very, very curt. And to Advaitam Sukarupam. Advaita is of the nature of bliss, whereas Dussaha Dukkham Sada Bhavet Dvaitam. Dvaitam is always of the nature of misery, and that misery also is very difficult for us to bear. That way, in the Mangala Shloka also, we have that Shri Guru Charana Dvandvam Dussaha Dvandvam. That is Machita Dussaha Dvandvam. So that Guru is the one who has churned and rejected the Dukkham, that is Dussaha. That is, it is impossible to bear. So that is the shloka itself. So in that word is coming here. Dussaha Dukkham Sada Bhavet Dvaitam Yatra Prayojanam Syat Pratipadayati Srutihi Tadeva Asau. So that which is of some use, it's not some use, it is of great use to the seeker. That alone Shruti is teaching, not something which is of the nature of misery. So Shruti won't teach that which is miserable to anybody. And so naturally, Dvaita, which is Ananda Swarupam, that alone Shruti is teaching, because that Advaita which is Ananda Swarupam, that alone Shruti is teaching, because Advaita is not known to the people in the world. They have to be taught, and they have to be taught that it is their own Swarupam. Advaitam Sukarupam Advaitasya Sukarupatvat Sarva Praninaha Sukameva Ishtam Na Dukkamiti. So, but even without being taught, every being, whether it is human or animal or plant or the microscopic organism up to that, every jiva is seeking joy only, and not never ever misery. So every jiva wants to avoid misery and acquire joy only. So this is the natural tendency of any being. So Advaita is that Sukha-Swarupam, and which is sought after by everybody, and which is not at all avoided. It is what is being avoided is Dukkham only. So Advaitam to Dussaham, Dukkham Asahyam, Kashtam, Sada Bhavet. So Dvaita is multiplicity or duality. So it is always presenting itself as source of misery alone, always. And that too unbearable misery. Sada Bhavet, Nirantaram Bhavet, Tasmat, Yatra Prayojanam Syat, Yatra Apeksha Bhavati, Tadeva Pratipadeti, Jnapayati, Asau Shrutihi. So what is being sought after by beings, all beings, that alone is being taught by the Shruti. So what is being sought after by beings? Misery is, they seek to avoid misery, and they seek to acquire pleasure or acquire bliss. So this alone, the two prayojanams you can say. One is the avoiding of misery, and the other one is acquiring of bliss. And in that process, the Shruti teaches that it is not something to be acquired by you. Your very self or your true nature itself is bliss, and which is untouched by any misery. So this is how the Vedanta presents the Vedantic truth to the seeker. Tattvamasyaadini Vedanta Vakyani Tirtaha. So the Mahavakyas of the Shruti teach the aspirant that his very nature is Ananda Swarupam, and which is untouched by any misery. And so there is no need for the jiva to avoid by effort any misery, or even to acquire his own true nature, that is Anandam, by any effort at all, because no effort is involved here. It is only the, if we want to say that it is an effort, it is only the effort of Vedanta sadhana, but then that is not considered to be an effort at all. Idanim Advaitananda Rupasya Brahmanaha Jivatvamapi Swabhavikam iti ashankate. So now a new doubt is being taken up, raised, that the Ananda Swarupam Brahma, for that Brahman, which is Advaita in nature, that Jivatva, that is being an individual, is also very, very natural only. It is not something which is acquired from outside. It is very it is the nature of the Advaitic Brahman to be a Jiva. That is a Jivatvam, the nature of being an individual. That is native to the Advaitic Brahman. It is not something which is alien to it. So that is the question raised. For that, the reply is in the shloka, Nigamagira Pratipadyam Vastu Yad Ananda Rupam Advaitam Swabhavika Swarupam Jivatvam Tasya Kechana Bravate. So the reply is in the form of a statement that the Ananda Swarupam Brahman that is taught by the Shruti, Nigamagira is Shruti, that Ananda Swarupam Advaitam is by nature itself, it is Jiva. That is the doubt, or that is the wrong notion of some people. So that is a statement made here. Nigamagira Upanishad Vakyehi Pratipadyam Siddhantitam Yad Ananda Rupam Ananda Ghanam Advaitam Vastu Brahma Tasya Jivatvam Swabhavikam Swarupam Jivaswarupatapi Swatayeva Iti Kechana Pandita Manyaha Vatanti Avidyavartatvad Ityartaha. So those who are not well informed about the nature of the Shruti or the teaching of the Shruti, they hold that the true nature of the Brahman is Jiva itself. So that is the wrong view which is being presented, which is to be set right in the sequel. Idanim yadashinkitam brahmanaha swateyeva jivatvamiti tan nirakaroti. So that idea is that wrong notion is being dispelled. Swabhavikam yadi syad jivatvam tasya vishada vignaptehe sakritapi na tad vinasham gachet ushna prakashavad banyehe. So the reply is that if jivatva, that is the being the individual, that is a miserable, finite individual, that nature is, that is the true nature of Brahman, vishada vignaptehe sakritapi na tad vinasham gachet. So it will not be eradicated by knowledge at any time, because what is one's nature, what is one's very nature cannot be eradicated by anything, by any means. So for that, the example given is Ushna Prakashavat Banhehe. For fire, two properties are admitted. One is being the source of light, and the other one is being a source of heat. So these two, if both of them or even either of them is absent in fire, it cannot be said to be fire, because fire cannot be without these two. So these two have to be there, only then can be called fire. So in the same manner, if Jivatvam is admitted to be the very nature of Brahman, then by any amount of Vedantic teaching and Vedantic sadhana, it will not be possible to remove that Jivatvam. So that is the reply. Tasya Brahmanaha Vishada Vignaptehe Nirmala Jnana Swarupam. So the very nature of the Brahman is pure knowledge, pure existence, and pure bliss. So Vishada Vignaptehe Nirmala Jnana Swarupasya Jivatvam Yadi Swabhavikam. For that Brahman, if Jivatvam is said to be Swabhavika, that is, it is of its inherent nature, Swatayeva Syad Bhavet Tarhi, that Jivatvam, Jivasubhavatvam, Sagradapi, Kadachidapi, Vinasham, Nirakaranam, Advaita Bodhena, Na Gachet, Na Prapnuyad. So if that is admitted that the Jivatvam is the very nature of Brahman, then by any amount of Vedantic sadhana, teaching, contemplation and all that, it will not be possible to eradicate it at all. Swabhavika dharmasya durnivaryatvat yatha banhehe ushna prakasha swabhavatvam anivaryam tadvadityartaha. Just like it is impossible to render fire free of heat and light, it will be similar will be the case of if it is admitted that Jivatvam is a inherent property of Brahman. So in the next question, another next sloka, another question is raised. Nirakritamapi brahmanaha jivatvam swatayeva iti yadyapi jivaha sadhanaihi brahma upasanadi bihi tadrupatvam prapnoti ityashankate. So here what the question is, okay, let us agree that the jivatvam of Brahman cannot happen, cannot be. Still, the question persists. What that question is that, okay, jivatvam, let it not go by jnanam, let it go by some sadhanas, like meditation and all that, upasana and all that on Brahman. So why can't we say that this kind of practice, why can't we accept this practice by which jivatvam can be eradicated? So that is the question. Yadvat ayo rasaviddham ayaha rasaviddham kanchanatam yati tadvat eva asau jivaha sadhana shaktiya paratam yati iti kesid ichanti. So the view of some people is that just like they give an analogy for that, just like a piece of iron, if it is if it is passed through some process, some chemical process, by applying some mercury or something like that, then it can become gold. So that is some kind of belief. So in the same way, we can say that the jiva, by his sadhana shakti, that is by his meditation powers and all that, he can attain the state of being the supreme Brahman. So that is the question with which this doubt is raised. There is an analogy with which this doubt is raised. Tadvat yadvat yatha ayaha, that is loha dhatuhu, rasaviddham sate, kenisit rasena paradena va aushadhi rasena, by some herbal mixture or by mercury or some such chemical process, a piece of iron can be turned into a piece of gold. So why can't that kind of a process happen in the case of jiva, who meditates upon Brahman and attains Brahman nature? So that is the question. That is the proposal. Aushadhirasena va anupravishta pratishtam kanchanatam yati suvarna rupam bhavati tadvate asau jivaha sadhana shaktiya kritva paratam yati prapnoti. So jiva can engage in some such mental process like meditation and all that, and then attain to Brahman. So it is an attainment. It is not something which is natural, which is to the jiva, which is only taught, which is only eradicated by a teaching of the Upanishad. So here we can remember or recall the four types of processes which karma will bring about. So it is called, they are given some four distinct names. That is apya, utpadyam, apyam, samskaryam, and vikaryam. So these are four processes by which something can be brought about. So this is the in the domain of action. So utpadyam is to produce something which is not already there. Like for example, producing food grains or something, or producing a fruit from a plant by cultivating a plant and all that. So that is utpadyam. Or we can even say that pot is being produced. Pot was not there before, it is being produced through some process. Utpadyam. Then apyam. Apyam is attaining. That is, we are here, we want to reach a place. So the place can be reached only by our traveling to that place. So that is called apyam. Then samskaryam. Samskaryam is to cleanse some object which is endowed with some impurity. So that is called samskara. One example will be that, will be like a common example is that before offering a naivedyam, if it is, even if it is a fruit or anything cooked in our house to Bhagavan, what we do is we sprinkle water on it. So that is supposed to cleanse it. Whatever dosha is there or impurity is there, that will be removed by this sprinkling of water with some mantras or some shloka or whatever. So this is called samskari. That is, we are making it fit for offering, fit for use in some process. So that's samskaryam. Then the other one is vikaryam, where some transformation happens in that object, like cooking food. Rice is there, raw rice is there, so that has to be cooked. So when the cooking process happens, the rice undergoes vikara, that is transformation. So it becomes soft cooked rice. So the raw rice, which is hard, it becomes soft through the process of cooking. So that can be given as an example for vikaryam. So all these four are possible in the case of action, whereas Brahman cannot be a party or cannot be an object of any of these four. There cannot be a candidate for any of these four, because Brahman is, if you take the case of Utpadyam, Brahman, it need not be produced because it's ever existing. Then it is not Apyam because it's our own true nature. We don't have to reach Brahman. Only reaching can happen only when it is far removed from oneself. So here there's no such kind of reaching. It is because it's our own true nature. Then samskaryam. Samskaryam is something which has to be applied when there is some impurity. Whereas Brahman can never become impure at all, can never be impure because it is ever Shuddha Swarupa. Then vikaryam also is not possible because vikaras can happen only in a dravya, which is being produced already. Brahman is nirvikara Swarupam, and vikara can happen only in an object which has parts. Savayava dravyam, that is avayava means parts. So only in something where there are parts, then there can be vikara. So there will be some transformation happens in the parts, and then the whole object is said to have transformed into something else. So that parts have to be there for vikara. Whereas in Brahman, it is nishkalam. There is no parts at all. So any of these four processes attainable through karma, they are all this is impossible in the case of Brahman. So that is that can be remembered here. So kritva paratam yati prapnoti iti kechid ichanti kaishid ashankyate siddhanta anabhignatvad. Because they don't know what the Vedanta Siddhanta is, they come up with this kind of a proposal. So in the next shloka, this is being declined. This kind of a proposal is declined. I will just read it and we will finish this commentary here, because we do not have to keep this in abeyance, this reply in abeyance. Idanim jivaha sadhana shaktiya paratam yati ityapi matam nirakaroti. So this is being declined. This proposal is being declined now. Tadidam bhavati na yuktam gatavati tasmin chirena rasavirye pratipadyate pranasham hemo haimo varnopi ayas samarudaha. So here the reply is given with respect to the example. That is, in the case of the example, an iron piece was there with which some chemical was added. So that and it got transformed to a piece of gold. That is, it got the color of gold. But what happens is, when the effect of this added chemical, something which lapses, then the object loses the color and its nature of being gold. So that is the reply here. So in the same way, in the case of jiva also, whatever samskaras are there to which have been acquired through this meditation and all that will remain only for a period of time. So once it wanes away, the jiva will be rendered back to his original nature, that is a jiva only. So it won't have any effect in the real terms. So that is the idea. So we will take up the commentary in the next class and conclude the session here. Shri Guru Charanadvandvam Pandegam Matita Dussahadvam Vam Kantimayam Yasya Basitam Atanupe Shastram Sharirami Mamsa Devastu Parameshwaraha Acharya Shankaracharya Santume Janma Janmani Yavinaya Sampannam Vitaragam Vivekinam Vande Vedanta Tatvajnam Vidushekara Bharati Om Tat Sat.